Welcome to episode 51 of the Landlady Boss podcast. I'm here with my sister and co-host Rachel. Hello, Rachel. How are you doing?
Great. Hi, Marie. You're with the family. I'm so jealous.
I am. I'm here in Oregon. We're having a little mini reunion. It's not everyone. Rachel obviously is in Bulgaria and couldn't make it. We have a sister in Jerusalem that is a little hunkered down there right now and couldn't really travel very easily. And, other sisters that had work conflicts. So a few of us are getting together, but it's not the same. I wish
Oh, but how
everyone could be
fun.
here.
And they're going to celebrate your birthday, which is awesome. Happy birthday.
Tomorrow. Thank you. The big
Yes.
4-4. So that will be
Woo.
fun. I
Can you
always try
say
to
that?
do I can say I'm not ashamed. I'm fine.
The
It's
big,
not embarrassing.
no, I
Big
mean, can you say
4-4.
the big 4-4? Like, I thought you could only do that like at decades, like the big 4-0,
Oh,
the big 5-0. Okay, big 4-4. It's
I
a new
guess
one.
it's my birthday. I can do what I
It
want,
is.
right? I
You
can call
can. You're the
whatever.
birthday girl. Happy
It's my
birthday. What are you
birthday.
going to do?
Do what I'll probably do a birthday run. I like to do that, like 4.4 miles or something. It goes up a tenth of a
Oh,
mile every
fun.
year. I don't know what I'm going to do, and I can't do that
When you're
anymore, but
90? Yeah, maybe go the other way.
you start going back down. At 50, I'll start going the other way. I don't know. And then I
Yeah.
have a birthday massage planned, so that will be fun.
That's exciting.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. That my sisters got me. Thank you,
Yes.
Rachel.
No, we're just so excited that you get a little spa day. You get to be spoiled. You should be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. I always love celebrating my birthday at my
Yes.
home
Yes.
family with my hometown and my family and every extended family in
So
Oregon. We
fun.
usually are here for the 4th of July and my birthday is July 1st, so it just works out that way. My birthdays have definitely improved as I've come to Oregon. I get pampered and
Right?
spoiled a little bit more by my mom and sisters. I love it.
That's really, really good. And I wish I was there. So today, you and I, 51st podcast, I think we're going to do a really important one because, when you are a property manager and you're showing these properties, sometimes it's dangerous. I mean, we're females and sometimes we get put in a vulnerable situation. Different properties are showing different properties and what to do and how to control that environment better.
Yeah, I think being a landlady boss comes with its own risks, and we know as women in real estate that there are definitely times where we might have felt intimidated or just
A little
uncomfortable.
more
Hopefully, you have
nervous,
not had
yeah.
any issues. I hope and pray that, but some people have. And so we thought it'd be really important to do a podcast on how to set boundaries, how to stay safe in real estate as a landlady. So it's a really important topic. I think it doesn't get discussed enough, and unfortunately, it's a real thing that we have to deal with. And if you have been in real estate for any length of time, I'm sure that you can all think of situations where maybe your spidey senses were going off, or you just felt uncomfortable, or someone gave you the creeps. We've all had those kind of situations, and it's unfortunate that we live in the world we live in that we have to even think about these things or think about security or protecting ourselves or making sure that we're not vulnerable, but we do. And so we definitely don't want to focus on having, you landladies think of it as being fearful, but we just want to talk about how to be prepared so that you can avoid some of these situations and hopefully don't have any situations that you have problems with. So that's why we want to talk about this important issue. And I think that it's something to kind of reassess and sit back and be like, hey, am I doing these things to protect myself, or am I setting myself up for situations that can be really harmful or dangerous? And so just taking a little inventory and being like, is there something I can tweak or maybe I hadn't thought of? Hopefully this conversation leads you to maybe some self-reflection and maybe helps you think, what could I do differently just to protect myself a little bit more?
Right. And I think part of it is that there are people who are intimidated by the woman having the keys, being in the power position. So that can sometimes create a power dynamic where, a toxic masculinity or something like that. Like they don't like that you're in charge, that you're the one that is setting the dates or for whatever reason. And so sometimes if there's a person like that, they're going to like try to get back in control and try to control the situation. So we've got the person who wants to dominate. We've got that type. We've got another type maybe that is just a creep. We've got those. And then there's others who just don't have good boundaries. And so you being able to provide those boundaries is good, because it sets that up that, sorry, you've crossed that line. I'm not going to respond to that. So we want to talk about all of those things. So the boundaries are non-negotiable. That's really important that you have them so that you can be prepared and hopefully not be put in a vulnerable situation.
Anytime you are working with the public, women have to deal with this. But the thing that's a little different with real estate is you're going inside homes. You might find yourself in alone situations with complete strangers, someone that you have no idea who they are, and you're meeting them at locations that are isolated, or that you could be in a dangerous situation. There's all sorts of people. You're getting applicants, or if you're having open houses, people off the street, you have no idea who these people are. So
they're contacting you.
Yes,
right.
They're contacting you. You're working with the public, and it just puts you in a little situation that you could be isolated. So that's the tricky part. But yeah, having those boundaries, whether it is, like I do not text after hours, or setting these professional time and day boundaries, but also setting the tone. I think you set the tone for how people can communicate with you and interact with you, and making sure from the get-go that that's professional sounding, and not making it too casual, or being buddy-buddy, or giving a creep the wrong idea. It's not your fault if someone is creepy, but there's things that we can do that, can just set those boundaries from the get-go.
Right. Let's talk about red flags. You talked about the spidey sense. That's your first one. If you feel in any way uncomfortable, like you get that vibe where you're like, you suddenly have that thought, I am alone with this person and I feel vulnerable, that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I might have just set myself up for a really bad situation. That's a feeling of danger that you should listen to. And let's say you get to the door and you meet them and you're unlocking it and you get this feeling of just like something's off, something's not right. One thing you can do is just open the door and just say, go ahead, go take a look. I'll be right here. And that's one way, but that's listening to that feeling of danger. It's a good one to listen to.
No, that's good. I read that book, The Power of Fear, but it talks about our brains are wired to protect us. So if we are getting that sense of something's not right, our brain is ahead of us. They are noticing something that is telling us that this situation is not right. And yeah, whether they're too smooth, too slimy, too,
right.
The types,
right.
the creeps. So
the elevator
I like
eyes,
that.
or
I like that. Avoiding going in the first place. Or
just say, I'll wait here.
You had mentioned too that sometimes you'll be on a video call with an assistant or an employee or someone, so that they kind of have backup, or that they know where you are, or you know where they are. Like if someone's uncomfortable, you can always get on a video call and be like, hey, I'm just gonna be on a call showing this while we're doing this, so they know and that there's backup.
Right. And I do that with my assistant when she goes in and like she needs to knock on the door and do something that's awkward. Like, let's just say it's a delinquent letter or an eviction or something like that. She'll call me and FaceTime with me. And then when she knocks on the door, I'm there too. And so as she's talking, she'll be like, Rachel, what do you think about this? And she'll bring me in so that the person's aware that there are more than just one person at the door. Another thing you can do is you can just say, it's empty right now, so I'm going to go ahead and take a video of the place while you're looking around, so that you're like videoing at that moment. That's another thing you can do, just to feel like there's something going on. But so I guess that's one of the red flags. I think there's many red flags. Let's just say that if they start asking personal questions that are about what you look like, that's not professional.
Yeah, or do you live alone?
Yes.
Or where do you live?
Are you married? Yeah, all of these things.
Excessive flattery. I had that happen. I ran into a tenant at the grocery store, and it was totally a different vibe than I'd ever had interacting with him through text. And, he just was like very flattering, not flattering, but trying to be flattering and flirty. And it just was very uncomfortable. And I said, I don't think that's appropriate for you to be saying this. And it kind of shut him off. But then he started texting me later things. And I'm like, no, please don't text me. This is not professional. And just stopped.
Right.
So, I mean, you have to nip that in the bud. You can't be,
Right.
oh, I didn't want to be rude, or oh, I didn't want to say anything to it. No, you
Yeah.
need to set the boundary right away and
Yeah.
say, that's not really professional, and I don't feel comfortable with what you're saying, or this is not appropriate
Right.
behavior.
That's a really good way to say it. So maybe just like our communications need to be in a professional business-like manner. It doesn't make sense to have anything that's not associated with tenant landlord. So do you have any questions about your flat? Or like something like try to turn it back into the professionalism that needs to be there between a business transaction. But if you're getting those texts or the flattery or asking about you personally, not the business, then that's the moment that you need to stop that. And don't worry about offending. We worry about that often, that
I think as
we don't
women,
we
we
don't want to
think that we don't want to
assume.
hurt anyone's feelings, or we don't want, we don't want to come across as rude or mean, or, we've been trained our whole lives to be polite and good etiquette and nice and not make
Yes.
anyone feel bad. And no, there is a
Right.
time and a place where you have to put the boundaries down and say, no, this is not okay.
Right. So after you texted him that you wanted to keep it professional, did he stop?
He said, oh, I'm really sorry. He apologized, and then
Oh, good.
I ended
Good.
up having to evict him, but that was down the road.
Well,
So it wasn't
but
because of that.
I would make a note. I would put a note on their file that they did send some inappropriate text, put what they put the date, so that you have a good log of what was going on. And
Yeah.
then if it escalates, then you now have a really good file. But if it doesn't, then you can say, they apologized and stopped, and date that. But keep records. These are really
Yeah.
important things.
Also, the number one thing I think you can do to protect yourself is screening your applicants. When I first started out, it was like, oh, I'll just have an open house and I'll just put a sign out and I just let people walk in. And I mean, I know people do this, but after that experience, I've realized I felt very uncomfortable in that scenario. I knew nothing about these people coming in, and it really wasn't leading to quality applicants. People might say they're interested, but then I found out as they applied, like, they're not even meeting my basic requirements. So why was I wasting my time doing this? So after that, I went to, I do not give tours until I have screened the applicant. And sometimes, applicants get annoyed by that, or no, I don't want to pay a fee unless I can see the property. And I'm like, well, I'm really sorry, but due to security reasons, everyone has to be screened. And that's just our policy. I have an assistant, she's a female. I mean, we often are showing properties or giving tours alone. And so, if you're super uncomfortable, bring someone with you, a friend, a spouse, or, a teenage son, someone, and we've done that too. But usually, if you've screened them, you've done the background check, you get their license number, I can usually feel fairly comfortable. And I try to set up showings during the daytime and let people know that where I am and what's going on. I have a shared calendar with my assistant. We know when we're doing inspections or showing tours, and so making sure that someone knows where you are, or bringing someone with you if you just feel not very comfortable, but not, meeting people late at night alone. People being pushy, maybe, no, I need to see it right now, or can you, I can't fill out this application. People always have reasons to not follow your rules. That's why you have to follow them for your own security and say, I'm really sorry, that's not our policy. You need to fill out an application and we can set up a tour after you've met all of our requirements. End of story.
It is really hard because you want them to come, you want them to apply, and you want to show them. So everything about you is wanting to fill this apartment as fast as possible, especially if it's empty, which is how you're able to show it, right? And so one thing you can do is take a video when it is empty. So you can send anybody a digital tour so they can see the apartment. Here's a digital tour. If you're interested and want to apply for this apartment, go ahead and fill out the application. So now they feel like they're not going blind into paying the application, the background fee. Another thing you can do is have them send you a picture of their driver's license. So they send you a picture of their driver's license. When they show up, you make sure it matches who that is. And then you have your assistant or somebody else have a copy of that. And then you can also pay for a background check subscription where you can look people up by their phone number or something like that. And you can do a soft background check. Yep.
Often I have to ask for a birthday because, well, in Indiana at least, it's a free website. There's mycase.indiana.gov. I can go, I can put anyone's
Nice.
name and their birthday in, and I can pull up I've had all sorts of things come up, domestic assault, rape, abuse, horrible things. And it's like, oh, or speeding tickets, it's all sorts of things. But that is a free service where I live. So maybe look into if your state has something like that too, that you can look up cases. Usually it's public information if someone has gone to court. Not that that catches everything, but you can feel pretty confident. Yeah, looking, having that done, having their license, you're just trying to minimize the risk that you're taking.
Right, because if someone was interested and you required them to pay $50 before they even saw the place, you might lose a lot of people. That is in your desire to be safe, you also want to run a business that isn't losing applicants. And so thinking through that's really good. I use Forewarn. I get that because I'm a realtor. So that one is by phone number and last name. I can look up people. And so I do a soft, and it doesn't go on their credit check. It's nothing like that, but it just lets you know if they're dangerous, if they have a history.
Right.
And and so those are ways that you can stay safe. I have combinations that I will give, and they can go do a self-guided tour. So that's something, depending on what area you live in, that's something that we do. And it
Which
works
I would
really
never
well.
do, but it works for you in your college setting, and that's great. I would never let them in unsupervised. So it just depends on your market.
It does. And I'll even FaceTime them and give them the code at that moment, so they're not writing it down or anything. And so then they open it. Anyway, so you know your area. But anyway, those are ways that you're not there, but it's still happening. So those are options.
Yeah, and then the ways you can protect, having those communication boundaries are never give them your personal cell number, as we've talked about in past episodes. Have a business phone number, a Google internet number, something where they're not going to have your personal number, so they can't really continue to harass or bother you. Never meet them at your home and then go look at things, or never have them come to your home for any reason, obviously. Or I've had tenants before say, can I just drop something off or drop the rent off? And I'm, never at my house. That just is not okay. And then, setting those clear communications, like having that automated text response, like we try to be as responsive as possible and we will respond during business hours, Monday through, whatever, if they are texting late at night in your business hours. So setting those communication windows clearly for them, that protects you and just helps you get some sleep and not have them constantly harassing you. Just kind of making sure those boundaries don't get blurred.
No, that's really good. I like the pre-write response, because even if it's not one, you can actually make it sound like it's an automated response, and then it gives you a moment to think about how you want to respond. You just bought time, like they got responded to, but they also, it tells them it's a business line, not your home phone, so that's really good. I have a PO box. So if they're mailing any checks, it's a PO box. On my business transactions, PO box, and that helps remove any sort of personal address.
Yep, I do that too. That is a good way for sure, because you do not want your personal address out there. And then not engaging emotionally. If someone's trying to manipulate you or provoke you or insult you or get a response out of you, or just, coming on to you, whatever the inappropriateness is, just don't engage. Either ignore it or nip it in the bud, or, say, I will communicate with you and you can talk to me professionally.
Right. I think also when you respond using parts of the contract, so let's just say your tenant is becoming inappropriate, when you quote back parts of the contract and say, it keeps it less personal and it keeps it less emotional. So if you say, actually, I tried to get a hold of you 18 times, I texted, I did all of this, you never paid your rent, like now it feels personal and it feels like something that they can react back. But you say, as per your contract, it says that you will pay by the 1st, late by the 5th. It has now been 2 months late. Like you just keep it really business-like by quoting contracts. That helps everyone calm down and not actually be able to go back and forth more emotionally.
Right. And you can always say, this number is for rental communication only. Please keep all messages professional. or inappropriate messages will not be tolerated. Please keep everything professional. I mean, you can say it however you want to. You can chat GPT, find a way to make it sound how you want it to sound. I mean, but just being very clear and direct. I had one couple, I think I've talked about them before, that he was very volatile. They were always in an argument, and he's calling and trying to talk about this or that, or texting these long texts, and you can't get involved in those scenarios. It's just not worth your time and not worth anything.
So let's just say you've done everything you can to prevent something happening, but it is happening. You are getting threatening emails or voicemails or posts or something like that. So really, these are the steps. You need to document everything. You need to make sure that you save the text, you save the voicemails, save the emails, put it in the file if it's a tenant, put it under a new file if it's an applicant. You can, of course, block numbers and everything like that. The important thing is if they're not a tenant, you don't have to respond. You don't have to do anything. You're not legally obligated to give them any oxygen. So you block them, and if you want to, you say, I'm turning these over to the police. That's a really great response. If somebody's harassing you, you're like, that sounds like a threat. I'm going to be turning these over to the police now, and they can deal with you, or anything like that. Or you could just not. But
you just block the number. You don't have to.
Just block it. Right. But if a tenant becomes harassing, threatening, or flirty, this is when it's a little bit harder, because you have a responsibility to respond once, I think. And that is to let them know your boundaries, to let them know that they've passed them, to let them know that you will no longer be accepting texts from them, that everything needs to be emailed to your business email, that you block their number, and from now on it's going to be corresponding a different way. Like you can set the boundaries up so that they know that they've passed those boundaries.
So I had a scenario like this. I mean, it wasn't through talk or text, but I had an abusive boyfriend that I kept getting reports that they were arguing and yelling, and there was even an altercation on the front porch, and it's a shared triplex, and so the other neighbors are reporting and stuff. And so I went to talk to him, which probably not the brightest or safest situation, but I was staying outside, but I went to knock on the door to talk to him because I wanted him to know that, it was not appropriate for him to do this, and give him a verbal warning. And he opened the door, and he quickly slammed the door in my face and wouldn't talk to me. And so, okay. So I ended up calling the police, and they escorted him off the property. And he actually was not on the lease. He was a boyfriend of a tenant. So I really didn't have any responsibility to let him stay. So they escorted him off, and of course then he starts blowing up my phone, right? Oh, I'm so sorry, and could you please let me stay, and I didn't mean it. And I just said, I'm sorry, I tried to talk to you, you refused, so now it's out of my hands. You're no longer allowed on the property. Anyway, so it went away. The police handled it. They actually knew who he was. They came and escorted him off the property. And so if it's getting too much for you to, like, you've blocked it, they're just continuing to harass, or they're calling, or stop, whatever, it can escalate quickly. Don't be afraid to get the police involved and have them come. And I could have let this drag out for weeks and try, hey, don't do that. Stop beating her. Don't argue on the porch. I could have been trying all these things, but the truth is it was affecting the safety and health and harmony of my other tenants, and it wasn't good for my tenant, who he was yelling at and verbally abusing and doing all sorts of things too. So I mean, just don't be afraid to get police involved if it escalates to that. Don't think, I'm strong, I can handle this, I can put them in their place. No, sometimes they're just bad people, and you don't need to deal with them anymore.
I've had a tenant that was like that, where they were just really abusive, and the other tenants, their roommates wanted him gone. They had co-signed a lease, a couple adults together, and it was difficult because the police actually said, once they've stayed a certain amount of days, 10 days, well, if they were given a key ever or anything like that, then they do have legal right to be there. And so there are some laws that you need to be careful about. But if they are breaking your contract, so read your contract and make sure in your contract you have places where it says affecting the peace of the neighboring tenants and abusing or threatening or any of those things. These are important things to have in your
criminal
contract.
activity.
criminal activity. And so then you lean on that. And so you document what they're doing. You let them know this is the part of the contract that they are not following. And if it happens any more times, then they'll get an eviction notice because they're breaking contract. And I think that that's really important, that you have a tracking of you're working towards an eviction because of what they're doing, and it's based, you have backup on your contract, because a lot of the people that are like this are manipulative and do like twisting the truth, and this isn't their first rodeo. So I think it's really important that you make sure that you are keeping track of everything that's going on, but that you are following your contract and doing the right things to protect yourself.
I think at the end of the day, the most important thing is that you're keeping you safe and your team safe. And so looking at it as a whole, just making sure that you have those systems in place. Hopefully some of the things we've talked about today will make you rethink maybe your policies and procedures, and making sure you have a PO box, have a business phone number, not giving out your personal information or your personal phone or your personal address. And then maybe making sure that if you are meeting someone in person alone, maybe you've done a background check, or you've gotten their license, or just done a little bit of screening to prevent you having a problem meeting a stranger completely alone, or bringing someone with you, or being on a video chat. So we've given some options that hopefully will help you when you're in these scenarios, because we're landladies, we have to meet people. We can't just, hold up in our house and do everything electronically. I mean, sometimes you can do a lot electronically, but not every time. So sometimes you do have to interact with people, and we want to keep you safe while you're doing that. And just trusting your gut. Do not put yourself in a situation where you feel uncomfortable or unsafe and say, I'm a professional, I can do it. No, trust your gut and don't allow yourself to be vulnerable, because it is not worth the risk at all. And then, as Rachel was saying, document everything. If you're getting inappropriate texts, if you're getting inappropriate interactions or phone calls, document that so you have proof of that. And don't forget, you're in charge. It's your business. You're the landlady boss, and don't let anyone take that away from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Marie, that the more prepared you are, the more safe you are, but also that you have a really good process for how to deal with the applicants, and you treat everyone the same.
So great tips. If you're enjoying the Landlady Boss podcast, please feel free to subscribe and share. Leave us a 5-star review. We would love to have you do that, and share it with your friends so we can reach more landlady bosses out there and help them. And we always love hearing from people. If you have comments or questions or topics that you would love to hear about, email us at landladybosses@gmail.com, and head over to our website, landladyboss.com. If you're looking for some courses or templates or strategies to help systemize your rental property business, feel free to head over there. We have a lot of great content that we have created just for you. So hopefully these resources can help you and help you get the freedom and flexibility that you are craving. And remember, no one can manage your property as well as you.